The Table of Diversity Monthly Challenge starts today. The theme is abilities, disabilities, and accessibilities. If you have not signed up already, go to deichallenge.com to get signed up and to learn more. But what I found to be really interesting is that I got this email today, and the reason why the theme is abilities, disabilities, and accessibilities is in honor of the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act that's happening this month. And that brings me to this image that I have behind me. The Denver trucking firm settles with the EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, ending a 9-year lawsuit. And essentially, the Western Distributing Company agreed to pay $919,000 for back pay and damages because they discriminated against people with disabilities. First off, if you work at an organization, you need to know about the Americans with Disabilities Act, because I guarantee you that there are a lot of managers, leaders, people who are working in companies who are violating the Americans with Disabilities Act. Two, if you work at an organization, if you frequent businesses, if you ever go to state or local government buildings, activities, if you exist in the United States, you need to know about the Americans with Disabilities Act. I don't mean just a high-level overview. I mean the deep dive that we are taking on the Americans with Disabilities Act, because you might be facing some sort of discrimination. Even if you don't have a disability, you might be facing some sort of discrimination. And I think that there are more people who would have grounds for suing anyone, businesses, the companies that they work for, state, local governments, because of the discrimination, but they just don't have the knowledge. Folks just don't know about these things. I am a DEI trainer. I am a strategist. I go into organizations and help them be better through a lens of DEI. And I still learned a lot as I was putting together this challenge, the learning opportunities, and really setting up an environment that is helpful for people to learn and unlearn. So let's dig into this particular case. It's a trucking company. Western Distributing Transportation Company has agreed to pay, again, $919,000 and adhere to a number of measures to settle a case with the EEOC over alleged disability discrimination. The U.S. government identified 58 individuals who were allegedly denied reasonable accommodations or terminated because of a disability that they have. Some of these disabilities were a man had open heart surgery, and when he came back to work, he requested accommodations to not be a driver, a truck driver, but instead to be reassigned to another role, and was denied that opportunity to work in another role. Which, when it comes to accommodations, as long as they do not create a burden to the organization, they have to be accommodated. And reassigning someone to a different role does not create a burden. It might be inconvenient, but it's not a burden. And we talk about that in the challenge. So if you're not quite sure, you need to join deichallenge.com. So one of the reasons why this Western Distributing Company said that they did not accommodate is because they have an internal policy referred to as full duty. And it's a standard that requires employees to return to work without any medical restrictions. And that is against the law. You folks should be able to return to work, request accommodations, and be accommodated. So this trial has gone on for a number of years. Some of that money will go towards back pay for folks who were not paid because they were either laid off or terminated or put on leave. And then the rest goes to just damages. And it's going to be split between those 58 people and, of course, their lawyers and things like that. But I think this is really interesting that And I get emails like this every day, which is why I was so adamant about making the theme for this challenge in relation to the Americans with Disabilities Act. Because when I tell you there's so much that we don't know, I am not exaggerating. There's so much that we don't know. And I, as someone who does this work for a living, I can admit to you that there was a lot that I didn't know. And if you don't do this work for a living, even if you have lived experience, even if you know someone who may have a disability, I guarantee you're going to learn something today being a part of this challenge. So I encourage you to sign up, DEIchallenge.com. And, as I get more of these emails, I will share them because I think it's important for us to know what rights we have. And as we're going to work, as we are frequenting a business, as we are engaging in programs and activities that are put on by state and local governments, we have a lot of rights that I just don't know that folks know about. Today's the first day of the challenge, so if you're signing up today, you haven't missed much. And get in there and let's learn together. See you then.